As mayor, I'll call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I'll ask everybody to listen to a moment of silence for our former mayor, Charlie Garber. Thank you. Donna, if you would.
Murder. Riley.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Sofa.
Here.
Stoops absent. Wilson.
Here.
Zukas.
Here.
Non-agenda items, Dave?
I make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse the absence of this.
Support.
Riley.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Sofa.
Yes.
Stoops absent. Wilson.
Yes.
Zukas.
Yes.
Murder.
Non-agenda items, Dave?
Yeah, I come to talk to the council tonight. I've been with Parks and Rec for a better part of 10 years. And in that time, I've worked under 3 mayors, 2 city clerks, 2 assistant clerks. I left for a while, I came back, and the council had contacted me to come back and be Parks and Rec director again. So I did. Then I had a meeting with the advisory committee about the director's position and was informed that I was activity and Bart was the head of the parks, which I don't have a problem with that at all. In the past, the Parks and Rec has used the youth center for community events, and all that I needed was to tell the Lions that I was going to use the building. Now there's a problem with how they're going about doing that. And I don't know if the council all has read the lease from that the city has with the Lions. But in the wording, it's kind of vague and you can take it two different ways. And now, according to the new president, the Lions have full say of the hall and everything has to goes through them. I just need to know who has priority over the use of the youth center, how far in advance I can request dates for events, because I have to go through them, and if I put in a date, I was told that if something comes up for the Lions, that I have to cancel out that date. And when I put dates together and put on activities, it's really hard to put them on if I have to follow those rules. Because I put something on, 2-3 months down the line, they need the hall, I gotta cancel it out. It's hard to get in contact with people to cancel something like that out. I canceled out 4 events now because I don't know where it stands. Because I had to submit, which I did to the council, the dates that I needed the hall for, and I did with the Lions. I've got no response, and I'm not going to enter the building until I get a response back from them, because I don't need any more problems than I already have. And you guys know the events that I put on. I have the senior day, second Wednesday of the month. Every Thursday I have an open jam. And in that open jam, we get musicians from all over, and musicians aged from 16 to 90 years old that come in and play. Some of the musicians come there on a regular basis. I have 5 or 6 that are coming on a regular basis to come in and jam. And this works out really good for the people that come in there, because I've got a drummer that comes in there. He hasn't played in 10 years and he wanted to get back in and play with others. And when another drummer comes in, he is a beginner, he's mentally challenged, and we're teaching him self-control on the drums. So it's a teaching thing too. I got a guitar player that comes in once in a while, wants to learn new songs, and we all get together and figure out a song, and then we play those songs for the next week. There's another guitar player that comes on a regular basis because he wants confidence playing with other people. And then I got one guitar player that I've known a long time. He comes there because he had a friend of his, which is a friend of mine too, that he played with for over 40 years. The gentleman passed away, and he had a hard time going back to play his guitar. So I talked him into coming over there and seeing what it's like, and now he comes every week. And myself, I play bass. And what we do is we pick a song we're going to learn, we bring it back the next week, and whoever walks in the door, we tell them the song we're doing. If they got a song they want to do, we do that. I've had guitar players, harmonica players, banjo players, all types of musicians come through the door, and I never know who's going to walk in the door. Even spectators will come in and check it out. So, then I put on the daddy-daughter dance, a skate day, and you know about the town by the river. And I just started back up the youth dances, which is a hit for the kids in the community. And I just need to know where I stand with how I can use the hall and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, just to be clear, you said you canceled 4 events, right?
Yeah.
Not because you were told you couldn't use the hall.
Well, I didn't get a confirmation from the Lions, so I wasn't going to go in the building.
So they haven't tried to call you? Nobody tried to call you?
No.
Or email you?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Because it sounds like the president over there was trying to get a hold of you, but she didn't seem to be having any luck.
I didn't get anything on my phone or nothing.
Your email, when you got one of your emails is shut off or something, so they keep bouncing back. Lion Dave Pearl or whatever, when I tried to send an email to everyone, that one kept on coming back to me as it wouldn't go to you. I don't know if you like turned it off or what.
I'll have to check, I don't know for sure.
I mean, the only date that was in question was the 4th Saturday of February, as far as I know, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, the Lions meeting next Tuesday.
Not till January, is it?
No, there's not.
Or, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
First Tuesday in
Yeah,
January.
Right.
Yeah, they canceled, we don't have a second meeting.
Well, the lease is clear on what it says. It's basically, if there's any Parks and Rec or city events that go on there, it has to be okayed by the Lions. I don't know the specific language, but that's what it says.
Did you
So, I
bring
mean,
a
all
copy?
you gotta do is put in a
I
request.
think it's kind of vague. Because when I was Alliance, they said it was the Rex, and then when it's Alliance, thing, it's Alliance. I think it's vague.
How long has that lease been in effect?
It's a 100-year lease.
It's
So it's been going on for a
15
long
years.
time, so what prompted
We,
this issue now?
Just, I believe it's the new president of the Lions, and basically it was, like Eric said, the daddy-daughter dance, which I was having on the 4th Saturday of February, and it conflicts with their euchre night.
There was some internal issues with the Lions more than anything about it, really. Because Dave was the hall manager too.
Right.
So when that kind of all sort of fell apart, things sort of changed.
So this is what it says. It is understood and agreed between the parties hereto that the said premises during the continuance of this lease shall be used and occupied for a community activity center or for such other purposes as the city council for the city of Memphis may from time to time designate with the consent of the Memphis Lions Club.
So it's with the consent of the Lions.
The last meeting I attended was, the last Tuesday was, I think they were trying to set up 3 or 4 individuals.
See, there's
that
4
would try
people
to-
running the hall now.
Yeah, and they would try to, I don't think it's set up yet though, is it, or is it?
No, they have their people, but they don't have everything, how they're gonna do it in
Yeah.
place yet.
So I think probably when they get that set up, then somehow we can have.
Yeah, all it would be is, I think what was proposed was Dave requests things quarterly.
Quarterly?
Yeah, like every, 3 months in ahead, 3 months, that way, the Lions know 3 months, and it's not just like, we blanket thing for the next,
Yeah.
year or 2 years for events, it's just quarterly, so every 3 months you designate your dates, the Lions approve it, and then you
Yeah.
go through with your events. That's what I gathered out of that.
So,
See how it would be.
well, I think then, once this is set up, maybe the logistics and how it can operate will then be made to you as well. As the Lions, they'll be able to coordinate that, as long as you have access to communications through your email or however you do it.
Because it's not, you're dealing with those 4 people, not the Lions president.
Yes, well, yeah.
Could always use a
So
telephone.
I would have to go through those 4 people?
One of them, and then they have a committee, and you could probably get a hold of them and say, I'd like these dates, and they could probably, if you don't want to be at the meeting to request them, you could do it in writing or through them.
So why don't, hopefully they'll get that in place. I don't think it's the president, it'll be 4 members. That was my understanding.
Yeah, it's just, I can't remember who's on it right
I
now.
don't know.
Hmm?
I'm gonna be on
You're on
it.
it?
Sue asked me to be on it.
Okay.
So I think once they get that in place, I think maybe there could be proper communications between.
So just to go back to this for a minute, is this not clear to you?
It wasn't to me, no.
Let me read it one more time. It's understood and agreed between the parties hereto that the said premises, during the continuance of this lease, shall be used and occupied for community activity center, or for such other purposes as the city council for the city of Memphis may from time to time designate with the consent of the Memphis Lions Club. To me, that says the Lions Club are in charge of the building, they're responsible for the building, and it's up to them to decide what's going to be done at the building.
Yeah,
Now, if the city wants to use it, obviously the Lions Club are going to let them use it. I mean, have you ever been told no?
No, I haven't.
Right, I mean, it's never happened, not one time. Now, if the Lions have an event planned, obviously, it'd be pretty hard to cancel an event. The same thing with Dave. That's why we were able to decide 3 months ahead of
I
time.
think if you do that 3 quarterly thing in advance,
Yeah.
that would solve all your
That would
problems.
solve a lot of problems.
All your problems.
Well, Dave, why don't they, once they.
Wait, before we go any further, I just want to say this. So I know one thing that was a sticking point is the fact that you had Thursdays sort of blacked out for the whole year, which meant that when they were trying to have a region meeting or whatever it was, they were told no, that they couldn't do it because it's jam night, which, I mean, I'm not putting down jam night, but I think the Lions should be able to have a meeting on a Thursday a couple times a year.
If it's planned well, if we let him know a few months in advance that,
Sure,
hey, there's the possibility
absolutely.
we
Yeah, I mean, I
can
would,
host this thing.
yeah, I would never ask somebody to cancel something, right before it's about to happen.
Well, that would help out me too, then I would know that, okay, this date, you guys were not gonna be here.
Right.
And, I could post it on the door or whatever I need to do for that.
Well, Dave, I think that if once the Lions Club maybe get their ducks in order here and then say the 3 months schedule or whatever, hopefully you can work it out.
So there's gonna
It's
be-
coordinated between both, so.
There's gonna be an online calendar with blacked
Yeah.
out dates for everything that the Lions have planned, so that those will be made, everybody will know they're unavailable when there's a rental, and this, calendar is supposed to be online and accessible, and I don't see any problem with you being able to access it ahead of time and be able to see what's going on,
You talking Facebook?
No, I don't think it's Facebook, it's on the
Ed-
Lions
Ed-
Club.
I don't
Yeah.
do Facebook.
Ed set
No.
up- Ed set up a website.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be on the website, so you can look on there and go, oh, Lions got that going on, so maybe I can do it the next day or the whatever,
So there won't be a problem for me to continue with my jam this Thursday in there?
I don't know, you'd have to talk to the Lions, I guess, but
I've already submitted
can't.
that and I don't get an answer. So
Try
I think
to
that,
call them.
I think Sue's tried to get a hold of you, actually.
because she was trying to get the books back. This was her big thing, and she just couldn't, because
The calendar.
they've been having a real hard time figuring out things that were going on. There was an event there for a fundraiser for the school last weekend, and the only way she found out about it is if someone seen it on Facebook and said something to her like, there's gonna be people there, and they were doing walks through the woods and stuff, and she had to go up there and get a hold of the person who planned it to make sure it got opened up for them.
But I did give her all the dates that I had in the book and phone numbers that night, so.
I thought you took it back,
Not the book, just the,
the calendar.
I just wrote them down for her. What was there. So.
For rentals?
Anything else?
No, I think that'll do it.
Thank you.
Just the Thursday thing, if I be able to get in there, so I have to call Sue on that, or...
Well, you still have keys, right?
Yeah, that was another thing, she wanted keys back. I don't know, I need access to the building for these events, so,
Well, there's a lockbox over
There's
there,
a
right?
lockbox on the outside of the building that, you know, used
Yeah.
for admission.
I think she was
Just
kind of
call
trying to
them.
figure out what the numbers were on the lockbox too. Don't say it now.
I just don't remember, I'll have to go through it, because I got certain numbers I use.
Yeah, and then when you got something going on, somebody can give you the code and you know what you're doing.
All right, thanks. City administration, Donna?
I have nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Chief?
I have something. Stand up, Melanie. Beginning of October, and I brought this to you, we hired Melanie as our school officer. She's been working 4 days a week, different rotating, and she's been in a lot of the meetings at the school. She's involved in pretty much anything that happens where kids get in trouble. She's gonna be involved big time in this vape ordinance that we're asking for. She's also, you'll see her sometimes on weekends, she's working some of the weekend days, so. This is Officer Melanie Beam, again, she's been here since the beginning of October. Because she works days and she gets off at 2:30, it's been hard to get her to come. It's mostly been my fault, but it's hard to get her to say, hey, I know you just got off at 2:30, come on back for the meeting, so. I'm officially introducing her to you today.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I've heard good things already.
Great.
Next thing is Melanie and myself and the other officers were all involved in Shop with the Cop last night. We had 13 kids from Memphis schools, from the middle school, I think we had a high school or two, and the elementary. We got those names picked by the school system. We all met, we had a donation of $2,000 from a business owner. It was one of our officers' brothers, he owns a company. And we also got $200 donated from the Lions Club. So we were able to go with 13 kids and they were able to get gifts. Last night at Myers, all of us were there and Karen helped out. She handled the money, so it was last year we did it and we kind of ran into a problem trying to you hand too much money to too many cops and they get mixed up. So we were able to have her. So it was a good, very good thing. The kids were appreciative, the parents were appreciative. And then the vests that you guys approved, I received 4 of them today. We're expecting the other 4 hopefully tomorrow. The one officer has tried his on, he worked today. It's thinner, it's more comfortable, it's heavier duty, so we're very happy with it. As soon as I get the receipt, as soon as I get the vest, make sure they're all good, and I get the receipt, then we'll submit it. I have to pay the bill as we talked about before, but then I'll submit the grant for payment, and that's where it can take up to 4 months to get the half of the money back, so.
Sounds
That's
good.
about it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any amendments to the agenda? If not, I will take a motion.
Is there something number 3 in, for new business?
It's on there, that's just for when we get to it.
We didn't have it in our packet.
Right.
Is that, okay. I guess not.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as as presented.
Support.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa,
Yes.
Stoops absent, Wilson,
Yes.
Zupas,
Yes.
Murder, Riley.
Yes.
Hopefully you've all had a chance to look over the meeting minutes from December the 4th. Was there any questions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of December 4th, 2018 as presented.
Support.
Sofa,
Yes.
Stoops absent, Wilson,
Yes.
Zupas,
Yes.
Murder,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes. All right, we had no communications and no unfinished business, so new business number 1, ordinance number 204, nicotine products on school property. Chief?
The big reason we're coming forward, I'll stand up because I don't fit in that chair with my gums all done. We're coming forward with this ordinance. It was a request from the school district, and we did it for many years at Fraser. State law for cigarettes on school property, if we find somebody, you can only do them for 18 and under, or under 18. It was a $500 ticket. So what we did was we created an ordinance so that we can issue. What they're doing is they're getting a lot of kids that have the vaping materials. That's the big thing now. I've seen it on the news. It's a new type of cigarette for kids in school. So what they were doing was they were suspending the kids for a couple days every time they got it. So what we've said is, hey, maybe there's a better way because the kids keep redoing it. So we are doing a ticket that will go through our court for anybody 17 and older. They'll be issued a $50 ticket, which is a misdemeanor. Anybody 16 and under will get a civil infraction $50 ticket. And by speaking to the principal, what they're planning on doing at this time is the first time you'll get a ticket and a warning, the second time you'll get a ticket, and that'll be Officer Beam that will write the ticket, so it'll be an official police ticket, it won't be a school ticket. The people can just go in court and pay it. It'll go along as you keep getting stopped with the vaping. It'll continue to give you suspensions. Never goes over the $50. The reason it is a misdemeanor for over 7, or the reason it's a civil infraction for 16 and under is if you write a misdemeanor ticket to anybody 16 and under who's considered a juvenile, you have to go through juvenile court. They don't work the same way that regular court does. So rather than having us issue a ticket and then Melanie has to go to court at a later date, we're just able to issue the ticket and the people are able to pay the money. And eventually we'll get a third of those tickets back. It's not a ton of money, but every quarter I think we get the check from Macomb County Court. That's who it'll go through because it's at the high school. And we get a third of the tickets back. So it's more of a prevention rather than, we're hoping that the first time we write somebody a ticket, they'll say, hey, it's gonna cost me $50 and it'll stop it before they start getting suspended, because that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want these kids being suspended. I'm just asking that you approve it. The school board already was happy with it. We're not looking at using this ordinance. It was brought up by a couple people on the school board and the council. We're not looking at using this if a parent shows up at a football game and has a pack of cigarettes in his pocket. As long as he doesn't light up, we're not planning on walking up to parents and saying, here's your $50 ticket. This is mostly for kids smoking, because we're trying to protect these kids.
Smoking, chewing,
they would-
vaping.
It's anything, yes, yeah, it's called tobacco, but it's, for us, what we're dealing with is vaping right now.
Yeah.
So anything that's a tobacco or vaping product.
It looks like adults, right here on that subsection B, it looks like adults, like at football games, would be exempt anyway.
Right, but they were concerned, I had 2 concerns come up to me and say that. And this ordinance was taken from another department where I came from, but our city attorney, I didn't tell him to grab that one, but he was able to grab that. He did write it, so it's officially written by our city attorney. They use it, if I talked to the school officer at Fraser, they use it constantly, and it's a great tool.
I heard from the previous superintendent that basically that's what it is. It says, part of the school property consisting of outdoor areas including but not limited to open air stadiums. The following time periods are kind of exempt for adults anyway. Saturdays and Sundays and other days in which there are no regularly scheduled school hours, and after 6 p.m. on days during which there are regularly scheduled school hours. So, you know, a parent, like you said, goes to the parking lot or something like that, they don't have to worry about.
Right, and our main thing again is to protect the kids. That's our overall
Yeah.
goal. Because with vaping, you know, cigarettes are bad for everybody, but when kids are growing up and you're using vaping, which has got some chemicals in it, which not everybody understands, it's, who knows what it's doing to their growth when they're 13, 14, 15, 16.
It's addictive.
It's addictive, and that's where we're hoping that if we start telling them they have to pay money, maybe, because some kids don't necessarily care if they get suspended.
Yeah, I wasn't aware too much about that, but there was a University of Michigan just did a recent survey about 45,000, and it says doubled in the last year, the amount.
That's the new thing, they had it on the news that they're cutting back on, kids are cutting back on drinking, and it's
Yeah.
more the
So
vaping.
that was surprising, and it included students 8, 10, and 12, and across the country. And they said 1 in 5 high school students, seniors vaped nicotine. And, you know, and their brains are not fully developed, and it's very dangerous, really. So
Yeah.
I was really surprised when I read some of that on it, so. Of course, I wasn't even aware what vaping was.
Back to the section B, those time, is that for the 16 and 17-year-olds also, or is it just for the over 18?
For which one?
Back to that subsection B.
Well, I'm pretty sure you gotta be 18 to possess it anyways, in general, right?
Anybody, you cannot, yeah, you have to be 18 years old to have tobacco in the first place.
Oh, okay. All right, I didn't know if they could do the vaping at those hours. Oh, okay, no.
And we're mostly saying anybody, say that a kid got held back 2 or 3 years and he was 20 years old and he was still a student at school, we would still issue him the citation for the $50. Because even though they're 18 and they can't have cigarettes, they're not allowed to have it on school property.
Did we not have an ordinance?
We did not have an ordinance, the only thing that I could go by was a state law, which is up to 18 technically, and it's a $500 ticket. So we didn't want to start burdening all these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids with $500 tickets. We didn't think that was fair. We saw it was working, and we originally came to me from the school principal that Port Huron's been doing it for a while too. So.
Do you do anything to adults that are smoking on school property?
We haven't really run into any, if they're not supposed to smoke.
Right, I don't know, is that a ticketable
Yeah,
offense?
you cannot, well, it's the school's policy that you can't smoke on school property. I think it's a state policy, like you can't smoke in bars, you can't.
Right.
So that would be something we'd walk up and say, hey, put the cigarette out. We haven't really seen adults using vaping, that's mostly the kids. But it doesn't smell, it doesn't stand out like cigarettes do.
Yeah, because that subsection only protects you, an adult, during those certain hours.
Correct.
So during school hours, you can't just like, you're in front of the, third grade door waiting for kids to come out, you can't be hanging out.
Yeah, they're not allowed to smoke on school. It's not, nothing, and again, Melanie, if she saw adults out there smoking, she'd probably walk up to them and say, what are you doing, stupid? I mean, this is, so, I'm hoping that once this gets put out, we're not gonna get a lot of tickets. But if it is, we may have to write some and it'll get around the school.
One question is, and just it goes back to adults, and it's only just because I'm wondering, and I'm sure you probably wouldn't enforce it, but it's not just use, it's possession.
Correct.
So if I had a pack of cigarettes in my pocket and I'm waiting for my son after school, I'd be in violation, technically.
But we're not gonna really.
Technically though,
Yeah,
but not.
no, and we're not gonna
You're
even.
not gonna frisk anybody to make sure they got them.
No, because it's myself or Melanie or the officers, so we have overall control of those
Right.
officers. We're not gonna have the sheriff's department showing up doing that, we're not gonna have the state police, so
Cigarette dog.
all my officers will be told if it passes that, yeah, we're doing this for the kids, and if you see an adult smoking, say something to them, but we're not looking at ticketing, we're looking at ticketing kids.
I believe there's a sign
Students.
that says smoke-free campus
Yeah.
somewhere over there, so,
All over.
yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Do we need to introduce this, or we just adopt it?
No, I think you have to, let me look here. I think it has to be introduced. Introduced and then adopted and then published, yeah. So we just have to make it tonight a motion to introduce it.
Larry, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we introduce ordinance 204, the use of tobacco or nicotine products at school property.
Support.
Stoops absent, Wilson,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Martyr,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, board review, appoint members. Mayor and council, please appoint Kim Gunst, Denny Bork, and Judy Weaver as board of review members, and Walter Sinda as alternate, term to expire December 31st, 2019. Thank you, Jamie Barra, assessor. Pretty cut and dried. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Kim Gunst, Denny Borick, Judy Weaver as Board of Review members, and Walter Sinda as alternate. Term to expire December 31st, 2019.
Support.
Wilson.
Yes.
Stukas.
Yes.
Martyr.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Stofa.
Yes.
Stoops absent.
Okay. Well, this could take a few minutes here. So, a while back, we were contacted by AT&T regarding the Metro Act right-of-way permit that we currently have. It's expiring this year. So this is basically it right here. This is what they sent us. It's a single page. Or I'm sorry, this is not it. Anyway, this is a single page thing. It's very simple. After I looked into it a little bit, and actually Larry and I met with the person from AT&T, and I had some questions, Larry had some questions, and to be frank, they didn't have very many answers for any of our questions as far as what was going to be happening in the future. So at the time, I said that, as mayor, my term is up in November, and I don't really feel that comfortable signing a 5-year agreement when I won't even be here. I could possibly won't be here after the first year anyways. So why don't we just do a 1-year agreement? Well, that was basically, thrown out as, that there's too many agreements with too many communities. So they wanted us to sign, it was basically the 5-year agreement or bust, right? Is basically what they told us. So I did some searching, and I was able to contact some people about, what they thought that we should do. So this right here is 25 pages of right-of-way agreement. Totally different from what AT&T has had us sign in the past. So this right-of-way agreement, when you go through there, basically restricts a lot of things as far as what they can do. It's our right-of-way. We control it, we maintain it, and they are asking us to be able to work in the right-of-way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with 5G, which is coming down the road here. There's a lot of questions about it, the safety of it. And so I think Donna has everybody's email. She's going to email you guys this whole packet of legal mumbo jumbo. But I'll just go over a couple things in here that really caught my eye that I thought would definitely protect the city in the future going forward. One of the things is in the definitions under poles, it specifically states that poles will exclude city-owned light poles and any and all other historic or architecturally significant poles owned by the city located on the public ways or any other similar street features. So basically this would limit them to using the utility poles as opposed to, say, our light poles and anything that we own, they cannot attach to it, which I think is a great idea because I don't think we want to have these small cell antennas right down on Main Street here on our low poles. They're kind of short.
Just so they understand that this, from what, in our discussions with the lady that was here, that this 5G is very limited in the distance, right? And
Yes.
from what I understand in the discussions with her, that it's probably 100 feet or something like that.
Every 100 feet.
Yeah, so that means like you have, telephone poles, and every 100 feet you'd have to have one of these antennas, I believe,
Yep.
attached to it in order for it to
Well,
go from one
each
to
provider
So,
would
I don't
have,
know what the 5G you're talking about.
well,
it's like the next stage of cell phone technology. It also has to do with self-driving vehicles,
Oh, okay, oh, okay.
streaming, video type of
Are they
thing.
putting that up on this?
Well, that's where it would go, in our right-of-way, right?
Oh,
So
oh.
the problem with 5G is it's very powerful, but it has
Yeah.
very short range. So that's why they need to have what they call a node or a small cell every 50 to 200 feet, so we're assuming about 100 feet. So basically, every electrical pole in town is going to have one of these on there. The bad news is that each provider will have their own nodes. So AT&T will have, Verizon, Sprint, whoever it is, they're all going to have to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Will there still be wires? Or are they gonna be doing away with?
I think they're going to have power
Okay.
wires to the nodes, but everything else is.
Well, telephone pole wires aren't really gonna be like they are now, eventually.
Well,
That's kind of what they're talking about.
we,
Well, I think they'll be I'm sure they're going to have some type of power, but I'm not sure exactly how that goes.
she wasn't able to really answer
No.
a lot of our questions, and of course, we knew nothing.
I'm sorry,
about it.
but
So
It was awkward, believe me.
Yeah.
I mean, there was almost no answers to any of the questions. Another thing that jumped out at me in this franchise agreement, that the franchisee shall provide a list to the city within 10 business days upon completion of the installations. Basically a map showing exactly where and what they're putting up in town. And just to kind of skip to the end, you guys can go through this, like I said. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in here, but
So basically what this is gonna do is limit them to what we allow them to do. If we sign the agreement that they threw at us, it's kinda like, do whatever you feel like.
yeah.
This is gonna be limited to this agreement. They're gonna have to come to us as opposed to them just saying, okay, here's what we're doing.
Right.
Right.
We already have an agreement.
So this
And
is a protection for the city of Memphis.
It is. At least it's some type of control that it will give us in going down the road in the future. And one of the last things in here, it says that,
Is that up and running anywhere yet in the state that you know? 5G?
Bloomfield Town.
They actually have it. Did you ever get a chance to talk to anyone over there to see what,
Just the supervisor.
like it's been up for a while and
Well, no,
these issues? Or?
no, it's in court right now. The area that they tried to start is a pretty small area. They tried to start it sort of like a neighborhood, and apparently as soon as they went in there and started to try to put stuff up, people were just like, no. They went to court. He told me they're like $750,000 houses in this neighborhood where they just happened to start.
Well, Bloomfield Township, they're pretty protective of their
Do we have to allow
tax,
this?
or their taxable value.
The FCC says that we do at this
Do
point.
we have to allow the 5G?
Yeah.
There'll still be one wire going to Larry's house for his rotary phone, or is it?
Mine too.
I hope so.
I still got a landline. But one of the last things I'll mention in here is it also says, by city after written notice to franchisee and after opportunity to meet with representatives of the city, if the city reasonably determines that the franchisee's continued use of the public rights of way will adversely affect public health or safety, that we can terminate the agreement. So it basically just sort of opens the door to allow us to, we can't stop it. They're telling us we can't stop it anyways, but hopefully we can just kind of control it. I just hate the idea of 6 or 7 of these things on every pole zippering up and down M19.
Well,
And you gotta remember, it's not just M19. It'll have to go down every side street in town, so.
Well, wasn't it that within the last year with, I don't know if it was Verizon, AT&T, or whoever it was, basically came to us and told us that they were gonna put a pole in the right of way, which
I'm bored with it.
the size of the pole they were gonna put in would have been basically a radio tower that would have been 120 feet tall, and where they wanted to put it, they would have been on top of all our infrastructure, our water, our sewer, and everything else. With, understanding what they were saying that they were gonna do, they said, yep, we're gonna come and plop a pole here. And we basically told them, you can't. Because they would have had to put so much concrete in the ground to put a pole that big in.
Yeah, we had piping. all-
Storm drain.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
infrastructure all.
I'm pretty confident that Bloomfield Township has done their research and homework and probably thoroughly filled that thing out. I'd be pretty confident that would give some pretty good protections, knowing how that township works.
We shall see. But I think it's either you can either lay down or you can try to fight. So
What would you like then?
well, here's our choices. I would say so you see the first single page is basically a resolution to establish the terms of the franchise agreement, and then this would be your franchise agreement. So we could either here's the problem. We need to sign it before the end of the month. So we either need to come back for a special meeting next week after Christmas, if you guys want to look this over, or Larry, how did you put it? We could adopt it.
Well, I was.
Obviously, we have to change some.
Yeah, because I'm only aware of it tonight.
Right.
I was thinking that if we wanted to, we would adopt it. I'm not sure how to word it.
Subject to editing.
With a change of this policy resolution here. Somehow adopt this but we're gonna include this. But I'd like to read this over.
Sure.
Yeah,
You want to have a special meeting next week?
I think we should.
Okay.
If it has to
Is
be
everybody
done
okay with
by,
that? Is everybody gonna be in town?
yeah, I think we probably should, and that,
Well, we're looking
what's the
at,
date?
Thursday?
27th would be best.
You looking at Monday, Thursday, or Friday?
Oh, yeah, Monday,
Not
Tuesday
Monday.
can't do
It's
it.
Christmas Eve.
Wednesday or
Christmas Eve?
Well, what about,
Yeah.
yeah, but what about?
27th?
Tuesday.
27th?
All right.
And
Tuesday's
maybe
Christmas.
6 o'clock, or everybody?
Oh, yeah, well, I think-
I don't know.
Sure, it'll be a
6 o'clock
very,
good?
it would be a very short meeting.
At 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
On the 27th?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we get, and then, once we read this over, and if we, of course, I know it's all, legal stuff is hard to understand, but.
I think you'll like it, actually. From what I read, I mean, I was really impressed.
Okay,
There's a
all
lot in there that I thought, oh yeah, that seems like a really good
Okay.
idea.
Where did that one come from?
Littleton Township.
Yeah, well,
And what's this one for?
No, that's
That's
the policy resolution, which basically says that you're adopting this franchise agreement, and then this is the franchise agreement.
okay, all right. All right.
so,
Just gotta come.
we'll all have that, then, so why don't we just, on the 27th?
Table
We'll
it?
get it, yeah, we'll table it for the 27th, and then we'll just review it, I'll just strictly do this here.
If everybody has any questions about anything, if you want to give me a call, I'll try to answer them or get answers for you.
TV is the 27th. right?
Thursday.
Okay, then we'll table, I'll make a motion to table for the 27th, and we'll have a special meeting on the 27th at 6 p.m.
Zukas?
Yes.
Martyr? Riley?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Sofa?
Yeah.
Stoops absent, Wilson?
Yes.
From the mayor. Well, I want to thank everybody who came out for former Mayor Charlie Garber's funeral and service. It was rather touching, and will definitely be missed around here. And just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. Kurt?
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy New Year, and nothing else from me.
Larry?
And I will say the same thing, and see you next Thursday.
Ken?
I
Ronnie?
say Merry Christmas also.
Jason?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
So,